Hello, everybody. It's great to see you all again. I'm very honored to have Robert Kamensky with the Feeding San Diego group, who was recently awarded one of the top leaders in Southern California.
And that was quite a distinction and quite a surprise.
Well, the thing is, we were talking about how important a team is in this whole thing we call, nonprofit or just, making a difference. Uh, that award was, yes, you got the award, but I think it was a way of recognizing the things that you guys are doing in San Diego, which at this time is probably the most challenging time ever.
It is extremely challenging. And then what we mean by it is the issue of food insecurity throughout the county of San Diego. And we just finished going over some of the latest data that was provided to us from our umbrella organization, Feeding America. And they're talking 2 years data past. And we have gone from 300,000 to now over 370,000 people who face food insecurity on a daily basis here in San Diego County. And of that, more than 100,000 of them are kids. And you stop and put that into perspective and you say, that was 2022 data. Look at what it would be today if you really start to look at how many people are coming to food distributions or looking for food resources just to make things meet.
See, California in itself has got a huge family challenge going on with not just homelessness, but also with people being hungry. Why is that? Why are we number one in that category? Do you know?
Well, I think there are several competing or not competing, contributing factors. Number one is San Diego County just recently announced is the most expensive city to live in the United States. And some people may say, well, no, that'd be about San Francisco or maybe Santa Monica or one of these ritzy places. Well, no. When you look at it across the board, the county of San Diego is very expensive to live in. And with the prices continuing to go up with inflation and just cost of living, and with the salaries being flat or just marginally increasing, people that are living on incomes of $80,000, $90,000 a year, that's not going to cut it for a family of four. And it puts you out of reach for state resources.
What does a family have to make in order to survive in San Diego nowadays?
I'm not going to give you a hard number because I just don't know, but it's got to be north of $100,000 to get affordable for housing, for healthcare, for food, for utilities, for gas. You just start labeling across the board. And it is very difficult for people of marginal means to be able to afford continued standard of living in San Diego.
So I hear that, and you're the expert in this area, but I'm hearing that the numbers are going up and probably are not going to ever come down. Will there ever be a point you think where people will just realize, hey, I can't, as much as I love San Diego, I can't live here. I'm going to have to find a cheaper place to live.
I think that's already happening. And there are people who just can't afford to move. They're going to be ripping themselves out of a community that they were raised in, or where they have their friends or family or relationships are there. And that would be very difficult for them to move. You look at someone who's on a fixed income, retirees from military who live in San Diego County, because more than 30% of our population here is military based, whether it's family or active or retired military. And you consider, hey, I have to uproot from where I intentionally decided to retire because of the quality of life that's here. And I can't, where am I going to go? Yeah, it may be cheaper, but I look at what my lifestyle is now going to be, the weather, the environment, the things that they have built their life around. They're not going to pick up and leave, but they're going to struggle in order to make ends meet.
And like you said, people are moving. And so what a lot of people don't understand is when you do move, it's not that easy just to network and find friends that you've gotten to know through the years. It's not that easy to get to know a community that fast. It takes time.
You have to integrate,
Right.
and you integrate, associate, and you grow with it. And all of that takes one thing that you cannot accelerate and you can't slow it down. It's called time.
How many of the percentages that you're seeing with people that are in need of food are from military or former military?
And I don't have a hard percentage number to give to you. I can just speak anecdotally. We help in our food distributions. We have two major ways of getting food out there. And this is where I get to meet the people who are asking for assistance or for resources. We have something called direct service distributions. And this will be our volunteers or our staff are physically handing food to people who are in need. And this would be in packaged form, such as 16, 20 pounds of fresh produce, dry goods in bags, and we are giving it to them. And that'll be at a mobile pantry where example, we go out to Hakumba every Monday from 8 to 10 o'clock in the morning. We distribute to more than 150 families who come through looking for hunger relief. And that is called a direct site distribution. So we have mobile pantries, we have produce pantries, like doing a farmer's market,
Mhm.
and we have school pantries. We set up at schools and we'll do a stop, drop, and roll. We have volunteers that show up at the site. The truck delivers the food. Volunteers deliver it to families who are dropping off or picking kids up from school. And right now we have more than 40 school sites that we service during the school year. During the summer breaks, we still set up at Parks and Rec, libraries. Some schools still allow us to use their parking lot to set up and continue to serve the community with those type of pantries. The second route is we have an agency network. There are more than 200 organizations that we work with directly. First Magnolia down in Imperial Beach, Brother Benno's up in Oceanside area, San Diego Rescue Mission. Some are very big. Some of them are just a mom and pop who are running a pantry. And we deliver food to them on a rotating basis. They may do it once a month. They may do it once a week. But our trucks are rolling to deliver produce and dry goods. And they are the ones who deliver to the community. So those two methods touch so many people in the county. We're looking at between 60 to maybe 80,000 households a month. And if you look at an average household is around 4 people. And how many hundreds of thousands of people get touched in a given month? And now look at it over a course of a year. You're talking millions. Now, it may be people repeat, but it's still, they have a hunger, and we are there trying to service that need.
Now, on another note, have you seen an increase, a part of the group of people that you're servicing every month from some of the people that have come across from other countries?
Yeah.
Has there been an increase there in that area?
And we saw that particularly during the surge earlier on in the year, whenever there were a lot of refugees who were coming across the border, some illegally. But point is that Border Patrol was doing what they were directed to do. Put them in buses, take them up to a transit stop, drop them off and say, see ya, you're on your own. So some of the organizations we work with, like Interfaith, they were attempting to get housing or sheltering for these people and to provide them with some food. And they said, we're running out of resources. Feeding San Diego, can you help provision us with ready to eat foods? Things where you can pop the top or just heat in a microwave and it can be consumed without having to go through cooking and preparation. So we did do some of that type of distribution, again, through those agency partners who have the front-facing mission of supporting people who are in need. We also had numerous drop-offs at our facility where an Uber driver would come up and say, hey, Here's a young family that just came in. They don't speak English. I think they're from somewhere in Eastern Europe, Ukraine. It's a mom, dad, and they have a 6-week old. And they have no means of transportation, no place to go. So we recommended we can take you to Feeding San Diego. We'll comp you the ride. They can get you food. So they would come to the front door, and our receptionist would be prepared with, I have 2 type of meal kits to give to you. 15 pounds of dry goods, one that you can cook if you have the ability to cook, or a ready to eat, you can pop the top and eat it. And we have a refrigerator set aside with ready to eat fresh produce, apples, oranges, stone fruit, things that don't require preparation. And I recall distinctly watching a young couple come in, and the husband, he was just shattered looking. It was like he had shame written on him. I have to come ask for help to feed my wife and my child. The mom looked haggard, like she had been through the ringer. She was exhausted. And they had a baby stroller that someone had given them at the border. And they had a 6-week-old in there. As soon as they tried to communicate, our front desk op said, I think I know why you're here. And she showed, here's what we are going to provide for you. And he was going, I have no money, signaling it. And she goes, none required. And that Uber driver stayed out there and waited for them.
Wow.
We provisioned them with food, and you saw the tears come down the mother's face. And you saw that sense of relief on the shoulders of the dad, like, oh, I have enough to last us for 3 or 4 days. Thank you. And you just see that expression and you say, your background is not mine to judge.
Right.
You are human. We are compassionate.
Right.
And you are in need. We are providing.
Mm-hmm.
Did we see that more than once? You bet.
Good.
We were at a point where at one time, more than 60 or 70 walk-ups a week were coming to us. Not all necessarily being driven in, but they were coming to the facility because they knew they could get provisioned and have something, whether they were living in the canyon behind us or in a car, or they had been dropped off at a hotel and they were doing a quick shuttle between the hotel that they were given a voucher for to live in. But this is human and it's personal.
It is. Not to get religious or biblical, but I don't think Christ would ask anybody those questions. I think he would just provide food for people that were hungry. And, what you're doing is something that is more needed right now than ever, but you're doing it in a way that is has heart.
It is with compassion.
That
is
and
true.
that makes a huge difference.
It does. And people recognize that. We have a marketplace. It's a pantry on site that the employees at one point about 2 years ago said, we have all these agencies that have these pantries. And we try to question, well, why are you doing this? How can we better serve you? And it struck on him and said, why don't we have our own? And that way we can learn from our own mistakes and understand better how those pantries are supposed to operate. And now it's been expanded. We had a grand opening of it few months ago where we quadrupled the size. All the food in it is rescued food. None of it is purchased. So we get it from local grocers who are ready to push it out the door, and we rescue it, bring it in, and provision it. And that pantry is now open 4 days a week for about 4 hours each day, Monday through Thursday. We are seeing between 60 and 90 families a day come through there, and they're walking home or walking out the door with about 40 pounds of food. The majority of it is fresh produce. And that is the most nutritious, the most sought after, and the most bountiful that's available, but gets disposed of most easily by packing houses, farms, and grocery
Mhm.
stores. We get it back into the community. And just to watch the people's expressions of gratitude whenever they get to take this home and provision their family with food.
So your background is a very interesting background. You're former Navy.
I could paint the picture for you that everything done in my background was exactly designed for the job I have right now.
During
I'm a nuclear engineer. I'm a submariner. I spent 35 years in uniform between active and Navy Reserve. I've been in private business. I got an aerospace master's. Of course, all of that just lines straight up with becoming a CEO of a food bank.
So you're saying that probably wasn't on your mind to get into this career that you're currently in.
There was no
Uh,
nothing that
was
foresaw this.
yeah, okay. So we cut to the chase. You saw where I was going with this. Well, it's worked out good because, and then of course you were with Point Loma Nazarene for about 5 years,
Correct.
which is a great college. I love that. I love that college a lot. I love the history behind it.
Yep.
Mr. Spalding used to live there.
Okay.
Used to be actually his mansion.
Oh,
Did you know that?
I did not know that.
The main office was his house.
Yeah, and that's some beautiful campus buildings that they have up there too.
Very nice. So, you mentioned earlier, you have kind of a basic foundation. Is it 5 that you mentioned that you have amongst
Well, there
your
are
team?
5 behaviors for a functional team.
Okay.
That's
Would you like to review some of those 5?
Well, I think, just walking down and they're in a hierarchy because one depends on the other that precedes it. So the first one is trust and establishing trust with your subordinates, with your peers, and with your seniors. And this is one of those fundamentals that if you don't have trust, then you're not going to be able to have a relationship that is going to uh, really accelerate your organization's ability to meet the mission or surpass the mission needs. The second one is creative conflict because you're always going to have chafing. But if you trust each other, you can have good creative conflict because you know that you're not going to be impugned for what the conflict is that you're going to bring up.
Mhm.
You're going to trust good judgment to occur based on, I find the following to be a challenge for us. Have the conflict, but keep it healthy. And then you have to have a level of commitment that goes after that. Once I have agreed on something, because we have had our conflict and I trust you, I am going to commit to that line of action and I'm going to hold to it. That fourth level is when you get into accountability. You want your peers to hold each other accountable for the commitments that they just made. And then lastly, you're looking at results. What is it that we have now accomplished because we have built on those different layers from trust to conflict to commitment to accountability? We now generate results. And there was a great, and I'm going to paraphrase the quote from Eric Greitens. And he used to be a Rhodes Scholar. He had a tremendous book that he wrote about some of his adventures as a young man. But one of the things he stated, you can have all these plans and you can have all these actions, but unless you generate results, all you're really doing is entertaining yourself.
Mhm.
And I am such a believer in that because results speak to the success of the mission that you are leading your organization to achieve.
Was that all 5?
That's 5 of them.
Okay. They went by quick.
Yeah.
So you have this is a business as well. You have to have events, you have to have donations. Would you like to go over some of those things that you're currently doing?
Sure. I look at it as there are three ways that people can help our organization. One of them is they can work from the heart. And whether this is financial resources and they have the ability to take some of their personal wealth and provide it back to the community where it will be applied toward feeding people in need in San Diego County. The second one is you can work with your hands. We had last year more than 22,000 unique volunteers support Feeding San Diego's mission, whether it's gleaning product in our distribution center or serving out on the front lines doing mobile pantry deliveries to people who are coming up to our pantries. And then the third one is intellect, because we don't have all the skills on our staff. I can't hire lawyers. I can't hire nutritionists. I rely on the general public to provide either pro bono or skills based volunteer work. And there are certain skills that people are really engaged in wanting to provide. I'll give you one example. There is a retired data scientist from Qualcomm, and she is very bright on software systems like Python AI to help develop modeling. And in this case, she's taking model information from CalFresh data, which is SNAP or food stamps, about where it's being distributed in the county, information from the San Diego Food Bank, information from Feeding San Diego, information from the school meals programs for breakfast and lunch, merging all of it and coming up with an identified set of clusters where she expects food insecurity to be most prevalent, allowing us to target based on all those resources are being distributed. Here's where there are gaps. Here's where there are overlaps. Let's target the gaps. So it gives us a more refined view on where, with our limited supply of resources, where should we be applying what we have to get the most impact from it. That's a skills-based volunteer. She's been doing that for over a year. And it's amazing that type of talent that's out there that you can harness that type of good work into what we do. That one is an extreme. You have another, and every Monday morning, we have an accountant that comes up and she just sorts invoices for us. And she puts them into file order. She says, it's mindless work. I love doing it. It deals with numbers and it gives me a sense of satisfaction.
And that's pro bono.
Simple.
And that's pro bono.
All of that is volunteer.
Well, your organization is amazing, and I can't even fathom what your day is like, what you go through, the challenges. Apparently, you love what you do because it comes across.
You sense a little passion there?
There's a lot of passion, a lot of passion.
Yeah.
And again, thank you for your service for our country. Thank you for the service you're continuing to provide with the people in San Diego that are hungry and are going to continue to be hungry. It's going to take a lot, and more people should be getting involved. And if they can't help, and this wasn't talked about, but if you have some moments in time, I mean, they can get in touch with you through the website.
Certainly can. Very easy to navigate.
Yeah. And you're always looking for help.
Always. Every day we have at least 2, sometimes 3 shifts that go on Monday through Saturday. And 2-hour shifts so people can come in and help. Or if they want to stay local in their community, we have offered to our agency network, they can tap into our volunteer base. And those volunteers can serve at a local site versus coming over to our distribution center.
I appreciate you being here today. I know you're busy. Are there any events coming up that you'd want to tell the audience about?
Well, we have something with Comic-Con that's coming
Oh,
up.
really?
We have a Hunger Action Heroes comic book that is being published right now.
That's really cool.
And it's going to be showcased at Comic-Con.
Wow.
We have 2 live action heroes that are gonna be dressed in costume
What costume
that
are you gonna be
represent.
wearing?
These are professionals. I'm an amateur with that. So that's just an example of one. And then in the fall, we're going to be having a large food drive campaign that we will be conducting in conjunction with veterans of foreign wars and with the Rotary clubs throughout the county of San Diego to coincide with Veterans Day. And then we always have our month of a million meals that occurs November, which is our major fundraising activity that takes us to the end of the calendar year, knowing that November and December are the biggest months for
Sure,
philanthropic donation.
absolutely. We're excited, to see the things you're gonna be doing, coming up, like you're talking about. The Comic-Con thing's a whole different level. I would have
It
never even
is.
thought about it as very creative, and what a great audience of people that go to that event.
It is. And we're trying to get the kids excited about it so that they learn and recognize what it means to be hungry and then what they can do to help others get past that.
Robert Kamensky, thank you for being here, and of course, everybody would support Feeding San Diego, and on a final note, is there something you'd like to say?
I have never had a mission in life in my working history that has brought the level of satisfaction to the job because for the first time, everything I do affects the community in which I live. And having that type of local impact is inspiring.
Thank you for what you do.
Certainly. Thanks for having me on.
Thank you. Okay, everybody, you take care, and let's help them out.